Welcome back to another edition of Competitive Edge Podcast. So today I'm super excited because we get to talk not only sales, business, marketing, but also how faith plays an incredible part in your journey. So you're going to stick around. Is Ray Higdon somebody I've known from afar? We've had conversations. We've actually worked with the same people in some marketing and building our brand, some journeys. But about 3.5 years ago, I'll let Ray tell the rest of the story. He had a huge breakthrough in his life. And so we're going to talk about some of that today. And it's going to apply to you because whether you're in sales, marketing, you're building a business, you just want a better quality of life. You're searching for answers in your own life. There's going to be some lessons that we share along Ray's journey that are going to apply to you and you can implement today. So buckle up, take some notes. Let's get going. Ray, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited. So we're here in Nashville. Welcome.
Yes, I love it.
I was super excited because I know when we were planning this, we hadn't had a chance to meet. This is the wild thing about social media.
Yeah.
Many times we'll meet people for the first time and you see them online and you're like, is this person the person I think they are and all the things?
A lot of times they're not.
We can agree on that, right? We go, oh man, I've met that person and someone asks me, I go, yeah, you know, they're different. They're different.
Stick to following them.
Yeah, stick to follow. But I wanted to connect with you because obviously I'm going to jump right into the thing that your journey 3.5 years ago, I had watched you before that. So it's kind of cool to see like the Ray before and then the Ray afterwards in a different person. And I think for me, this is who you are. So I can't skip over this. I'm going to jump right into your faith because I think for me, it's been an inspiration. Oh, it's also
awesome.
We just baptized our daughter and all. So it's like one of those things where I go, man, I look for people that are living their faith out. Yeah. So I want to walk people through that story a little bit of where you were kind of prior to that and then.
Yeah, for sure. So, and it's my favorite thing to talk about. I mean, it's my world, you know. So, you know, the end of 2019, I mean, we had just been crushing it. I mean, you know, we did, you know, 2019 was our first, you know, $6 million year. You know, we sold 2,200 tickets to our event. You know, I was speaking on all the major stages and all of those, I thought that all of those things would make me feel differently about myself. Like, man, once I get this and then this and then this, and then I get all those things. And, you know, I have the beautiful family. I got the amazing real estate. I got, you know, plenty of money. And something was missing. I didn't know what it was. And so I went on a very different journey starting in 2020. And so, you know, I grew up in a very abusive home. So I thought maybe I need healing, right? So I've been trying to acquire happiness and joy. But you know what? Maybe I need to fix something. And so I tried a lot of different therapy, hypnosis. I did 2 years of 1 to 3 hours a day of meditation, and all of those things helped. I won't say they didn't. They helped, but it wasn't the answer. Yeah. And then, funny enough, this story has a tie to Nashville. Do you know this story?
I don't know that I do. Let's see.
Yeah. So I think it was September of 2022, my wife gets asked to speak at a women's event in Nashville. And so she comes to Nashville, speaks at that event. She comes back and she says, hey, I met someone you should talk to. And I'm like, okay. And he lives in Miami. I live in, you know, at the time, I currently live in Naples, Florida. And I don't know him. He doesn't know me. Okay. And we get on this Zoom call. And the first words he says are, I see a big vision for you and God. And I'm like, okay. You know, I figured he's raising money or something. I'm cynical. Yeah. You know, I was like, you know, what's this guy saying? I didn't grow up in the church. I didn't know one verse. I didn't know anything. And we talked for like an hour and none of it makes any sense to me, but it feels true, which is kind of a strange thing to say. Yeah. But I don't know what to do. And, you know, at the time we're very new age. I mean, we got crystals everywhere. We got, you know, law of attraction, everything and universe. And the next night we go to a networking function in Naples, a place called Seed to Table. It's a very popular place. And there's plenty of people there. And I run into a guy. I'd met him before. I didn't remember his name, didn't know what he did or anything. And as soon as he sees me, he says, I see a big vision for you and God. I'm like, whoa, these guys don't know each other. He just said the verbatim same thing. And he goes, we need to pray. And I'm like, okay. I'm confused. And this guy, he's 6'5", former corrections officer, Marine Corps. We're standing, and he puts his big bare paws on me. We're standing in the middle of this networking function. Just imagine 200 people seated around you, and there's this giant man and me, and he's bellowing. And I don't know I don't recall anything that he said except this one line. This one line he said, "You're going to face a fork in the road and you got to choose God." And he is screaming, all right, this big old dude. And I'm weeping. I'm shaking. I don't know what's going on because I don't know anything.
Yeah.
And, and I just know that was just Holy Spirit working me. Mm-hmm. And so this goes on for what seems like 20 minutes to me. And he's just yelling. And so I eventually I'm like, man, this is kind of embarrassing, And so we get out of the prayer clutch. No one saw anything. Now, I could have reached my hand and smacked people in the face. No one looked at us. Everyone's just eating and drinking. It's supernaturally impossible. I mean, waiters and waitresses were passing right next to us, and he's yelling, top of his lungs, 6'5". And so we come downstairs, and I asked my wife, I'm like, did that just happen? And she goes, oh, it happened. And I'm like, but no one saw anything. And she's like, I have no idea. And so I'm like, this is so strange. And so I wrestle with it for a couple of weeks, and we actually had our annual event that week, and I just felt this pull. And so I invite the original guy, and he brings a guy from church. And on November 14th, 2022, we accept Christ. And, there are a few interesting things that happen, but the next day I wake up, and I've done 2 years of 1 to 3 hours a day of meditation. I know my body very, very well. Yeah. When I get out of bed that next day, and my feet hit the floor, I'm different. This is not the same DNA. I'm looking at my hands. I'm looking at the sunrise. I'm looking at flowers. Everything's in 4D.
Yeah.
And I just get this overwhelming nudge to pray, and I don't know how to pray. I've never prayed. And so I just get on my knees, and I'm like, God, tell me what to do. I'll be obedient. You want me to shut the business down? You want me on the road? Tell me what to do. And I get go live.
Hey guys, it's Brian here. I hope you are enjoying the show. By the way, if you're an entrepreneur or a solopreneur looking to grow your personal brand, make a bigger impact, maybe increase your leads and grow your revenue, let's help you get started today by connecting up with my friends over at the Brand Builders Group. You've heard me talk about them, but if you're new here, this is definitely the first step to get you started in turning your reputation into revenue. Head over to freebrandcall.com/Brian Covey. Again, to set up your free brand call, go to freebrandcall.com/Brian Covey to set up a free strategy call with one of the team at Brand Builders, and they will dive into your specific goals for how you want to grow your personal brand. I can't wait to hear how it goes.
Oh, I don't want to go live. That was not my idea. And so I wrestle with it for a little bit. Eventually I go live. I call it my apology to God. And 20 years as a speaker, I'd never said the word God. I'd said universe or source or something like that, but I never said the word God from stage. And that video gets over 50,000 views the first day. But the wildest thing is over 200 people messaged me from all over the world, and they said, I've been woken up in the middle of the night to pray for you. And some of them, it was like they were in cahoots, but we're talking Singapore, Malaysia, Australia, US, Canada. And I've been woken up in the middle of the night to pray for you. And some of them said, I've been woken up in the middle of the night for years to pray for you. And not one person had ever said that to me. And so that began that journey.
Wow. There's a lot to unpack with that.
It's a lot, yeah.
You look back on it now.
Yeah.
What stands out to you about what was the change outside of the big man that's with you and praying for you? Was there anything that kind of sparked that you go, you know what, I need God? Or did you ever have that type of?
I mean, I think it's hard for me to go back and think the way I used to think.
Yeah.
And I mean, I knew, or I felt I knew that there was some kind of higher power, but I just never been exposed to. I mean, I'd been to church maybe 5 or 6 times in my life. Yeah. And, my experience, honestly, with Christians was that they're very judgmental. Yeah. I remember my aunt and uncle renewed their vows, I remember the pastor, and at the time I'm in real estate and just focused on real estate, making money. I mean, that's what I was focused on.
Yeah.
And the pastor says to me, he goes, "Oh, you're Ray. I've been praying for you." And he said it just like that, not like I've been praying for you. You know, I've been praying for you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, thank you, because I know he wants me to feel guilty.
Right.
And I'm just like, whatever, buddy.
Yeah.
And so my experience with Christians had not been great. And honestly, that didn't stop. In fact, when I do the video, I get a call from someone that I really respect, a leader in sales, very well established dude,
Yeah.
and he calls me, and I knew he was Christian. And so he called me. I'm like, oh, cool, man. I'm like one of the brothers now. And I said, hey, hello. Hey, what's up, buddy? And he's like, hey, Ray, I saw what you did there. And I appreciate you doing it. That's not the way. And I'm like, okay, I'm day one. Okay.
Wow.
I haven't read anything in the Bible yet. I don't know anything.
Yeah.
And he says, that's not the way. And I'm like, okay. Okay. And he says it just like this. He says, if you die right now, how do you know you're going to heaven? And I'm like, I don't know these things. I don't know the gospel. I don't understand it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I'm going to be obedient and I'm going to study. And he's like, that's not the answer. And if you don't know, you'll burn in hell. And I'm like, wait a minute. This can't be the way. Yeah. This is not the way. I just knew. I don't know anything, but I know this isn't the way. And it was so interesting that on day one, God allowed that to happen so that I immediately, I had never experienced church hurt. Day one, I experienced it. So now I know what that feels like. Yeah. And so I think that equipped me to help people with that. Wow. And so, yeah.
It's wild when you think about that too, because raising kids now and then looking back and listening to your story, it's like, man, the people that we've all experienced that at some point. And you go, okay, that's just the truth. I think that's the example you get to be is go, hey man, I don't know anything. It's day one. Like I'm figuring this out. Like, maybe give me some direction and guide. Like, you've been doing this, like help me.
Yeah.
Now that you are a few years into it, what advice would you give people that maybe are searching? I think there are a lot of people that I see that are searching and they don't know what to believe or not to believe. And they're coming up on Easter. We're filming this right before.
Yeah.
It is.
Great point.
Wow. What an opportunity.
Yeah. I would just say that it's not about religion. It's not about rules. Like, oh my goodness, I better not do this or do that or do this. It's about relationship. He wants a relationship with you. And that's what I've been able to experience and just knowing I don't pray to God, I pray with God. He's with me. And and there's plenty of scripture that tell you that, right? That the Holy Spirit is with you, that Jesus is in you. And so it's not I'm praying to some far off God and I hope he's not mad at me. Well, if he's mad at me, then Jesus didn't do enough. Yeah. And I think he did. Yeah. And so just a relationship. And so I mean I just when I got into the Bible and just the way God wired me, I'm the dog with a bone kind of guy. My first week I have a Hebrew mentor, an Aramaic mentor. I think I've read 9 versions of the Bible now. And I just dug in, but I believed it. It says, when ye lack wisdom, ask will be given to you liberally and without reproach. And so I'm like, And then I saw an interview, and I later got to meet the guy, a guy named David Green. I don't know if you know who that is, but David Green, as a kid, he dreamed of being a dime store manager, but instead he launched Hobby Lobby that has 44,000 employees, 1,055 stores, $8 billion a year. And I heard him in an interview say, my life changed when I started turning every major and minor decision over to prayer. And I thought, well, if he does that, And so I just started praying. I pray about every single thing, and I've learned how to get guidance in prayer and how to get answers. And so I just, that's why we're here actually. Yeah. Both my wife and I know that God's calling us to this area. And so that's why we're prepared to, move to most likely Franklin. Yeah. So we're excited.
Dude, we're excited too. It's awesome. Yeah. I wanted to start there because I feel that's the foundation. We're connected on that. When I saw that happen, I remember the day you went live and all of that. So it's cool to hear some of the
I didn't know you heard it.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So, and that's the other thing I would share is you don't know who you're impacting that never reaches out and says, hey, this did this, but they're in their own journey, wherever that may be, whatever it might be about. And they're looking to people going, man, I don't know, but I'm going to start to consume some content, I'll listen to people and start to take some action places. And so that's what's cool about these conversations, because you never know who you're going to impact or who's going to listen. And I think about that too, as you mentioned this. I was thinking about that the other day, of like turning over every decision, big, small, whatever it is, and learning to trust God on those myself. Business. I want to jump into some of this because you've been very successful in business. What's different now as a believer than before? Outside, I know you mentioned praying about decisions and things like that, but I look at someone, again, you had tremendous success before, like you shared, like tremendous success. And then you look and go, okay, now, and you're still successful, but you're more aligned in your purpose. And I can just see it in you as you are doing things, and even the mastermind with some men last week, and you're talking about the connectivity there. Like, what's different?
Oof, a lot. There's a lot different. So I realize now, right? And the Bible, tells you, James 1:17, John 3:27, Isaiah 45, that God's responsible for calamity and prosperity. We can't get a result unless it comes from Him. And I realized how much He blessed me before I knew Him. But I went through, the wilderness, man. I went through some very, very tough times. So, when COVID happened, boom, 10 speaking engagements canceled right away. And that was, from 2009 to, 2019, we only up. Right, just everything up, and starting 2020, you're like, just nosedived, and we had in 2022, 2023, we lost millions of dollars in investments, multiple investments we did just completely went away, and I didn't know who the heck I was, and now when I first came and accepted Christ, I just got on fire, man. Like I was very faith forward, and God was kind of gently telling me that's not my path, but I wasn't having it. And I remember, I hired John Maxwell and had him speak at our Faith Over Fear event, and he told me, I asked him advice. I'm like, I feel like I'm supposed to lead with faith, and he says, Ray, my advice to you is earn the right to share your faith. And so he's saying, provide enough value to the marketplace. They want to know your faith. I'm like, oh, okay, all right, John, all right. And what does he know, right? And I just kept being faith forward. And so I really believe, God is so good that if you are going in a direction that isn't your best direction, right? Because His ways are higher than our ways. Like He knows your best direction. He won't bless that. And His favor won't be on that. And so I kept trying things. And, I would have these moments that were great, but business was struggling. Everything. Like we would have a big win, we would have a big win, and that money would fly out like crazy. And I just realized, looking back, I realized He didn't want me to draw the wrong conclusions. He didn't want me to think, oh, this must be the way, because I just had a big win. And that's, early on, I realized that I just don't pray for results. I pray for wisdom. I'm always asking for wisdom and discernment and thanking Him for wisdom and discernment, to continue to guide me. And so now, no question, the biggest difference fundamentally is I do pray on every decision. I do pray on, I remember I had here's an example. I'll give you two examples, but I can give you 1,000. One, I remember one morning, Saturday morning, I got nudged and I got into prayer, and I got that I needed to take my salesperson off of salary. Okay. Now she was making $10,000 a month. She'd been with me for multiple years, and I need to move her to commission only. Okay. And I'm like, oh, this isn't going to go well. Like who thinks that would go well? Right.
Tough conversation.
It's not going to go well. And so I'm like, man, does it have to be today, Lord? Yes. Okay. And so I call her and I said, hey, I think with the business and everything, I think I think it makes sense for us to, take you out, apologize, but I think we need to take you off of salary, $10,000 a month. And if you're open to continue to sell commission, we can increase that. And she goes, was it something I did? I'm like, no. And she's like, okay. And so, the call didn't go as bad as I thought it would, but it also didn't go great. Okay. 45 minutes later, she calls me and she goes, hey, I just want to say thank you. I'm like, come again? She goes, I want to say thank you because I feel like you've been overpaying me. There's other projects I'd like to do, but because of what you pay me, I just felt like I couldn't do them. This actually frees me to pursue what I really think I should be doing. Now, I wouldn't have known that. I didn't know that.
No.
I only saw and so when you walk in faith, you will see things like that you could not have anticipated, that you would not have known, and it's just an opportunity to trust. Another one, I remember a sales team out of Australia reached out and she said, hey, I'd like to hire you. I've heard you do, because I work with a lot of sales teams. Yeah. I heard you do great work, but can you not talk any faith? And they were very new age, right? And so I'm like, okay, and so I got into prayer. I'm like, Lord, should I do that one? And I felt like He was giving me, permission. Go for it, go do it. And so I do it, and it was probably almost exactly a year later. I'd helped her. They had made all kinds of money, more money. But about a year later, she came to me and she's going through a struggle, and asked me about God and accepted Christ.
Wow. Come on.
Now, I never would have, expected that one. No. And that's one story of a lot of those stories where I'm hired, I'm not equally yoked, and then they're like, hey, tell me more,
Yes.
And so it's just awesome. So I've learned, he has helped guide me to learn, be the light of the world. What does that mean? Solve problems, help people, meet people where they're at. And so I'm not Bible bashing. I'm not hitting people over the head with Jesus. I'm just, let me do as great a job as I possibly can. And a lot of times He will move them to ask me about my faith. And that's how I've brought a lot of people, to Christ, a lot of business people that I don't know that were looking to do that, but they start working with me and they decide to.
Full circle to what John shared.
Exactly. And I told John that. So it was a full circle moment. I saw him, I hired him in 2023, and I saw him just a couple weeks ago, and I was able to tell him that. And he said, he goes, I knew. He goes, when you were new, you were really on fire. And I'm like, he's going to settle down. Lord's going to help him. And he did.
Well, let's talk about some of that success. 'Cause you do train a lot of people in sales and marketing and all this. And I think a lot of people are struggling today to figure, okay, what do I want to do? But to me, it's all, no matter what you're doing, there's some form of sales happening, right? So I'd love your thoughts on that. And what have you learned through that journey of training people in sales? Are people born with it? Are they not born with it? I think about all these things and I go, let's break that down. Help people a little bit.
Yeah, it's interesting. And you're right. Whatever you're wanting to do, it's going to involve sales and marketing. Yeah. You're going to need you may not have to learn marketing if you just are provided with leads and you're just a closer. But if you want your own business, you need to learn sales and marketing. And, and people, they make the mistake of thinking they're in the plumbing business or the air conditioning business. You're not in any of those, but you're in the marketing business. So if it doesn't matter how good you are, if no one knows about you, it doesn't matter.
That's right.
And, and I remember there was a restaurant when I lived in Fort Myers, Florida. There was a restaurant there, great restaurant, good food. And I took my buddy there. It was a Vietnamese place. And on the wall, they had these framed pictures where they had won these magazine covers, Best Kept Secret. And my buddy says, oh, it must be good. I'm like, well, you know what best kept secret means, right? It means you're the worst marketer and people with inferior product are making more money than you and are more well-known. And so I meet people all the time that are best kept secrets. They're very good at what they do and they think that that's enough. It's not enough. You have to learn marketing, and if it's your business, you got to learn sales, or else you're just going to spend a lot of time. So, we'll take people that, may not generate that many leads, help them become really, really good at closing. You don't actually have to generate a whole lot of leads if you're good at closing. Yeah. And so the only thing I'll say to, are you born with it or not? I definitely was not. Okay. Yeah. I was terrible at sales, terrible at public speaking. I mean, it was just terrible on video. I remember my first video, I sent it to the guy that was mentoring me, and his response, and I spent 4 hours to make this thing. It was like 15 minutes. Yeah. And I sent it to him, and he goes, LOL, you should totally post that. And I'm like, what does he mean by that? And I'm like, hey, so you saw the video? He's like, dude, I had no idea you were going to start with a skit. I'm like, oh no. Yeah, man. That's how I roll. Yeah. It wasn't a skit. I had taped a script to the back of my laptop. So I'm looking at the script, the camera's here. Oh yeah. I'm like, hey, I'm Ray Higdon, and you struggle with generating leads online. And it was so
we all know
terrible. I wish if my first YouTube didn't get shut down, I would have that video and I would love to show it. But it didn't. And so you can absolutely suck at sales and get better. Mm-hmm. Where I do find there's a tricky part though, is if you are natural at sales, you probably aren't a very good trainer. Because I've met people who are like just boom. I mean, they were just, they're just really good at sales, and they were just born that way, never studied anything. And usually they struggle to teach people because they're used to selling with things they're unconsciously competent with. Yeah. And so when you've had to go through the pain of sucking, like I went through the pain of sucking at speaking, where I had my speech class. I enrolled in a speech class to get better, and the teacher was like, "What was that?" And the whole class laughed at me. That was my first 2 speeches. The whole class laughed at me. And so if you haven't gone through that pain, like, you may not be able to take someone who also sucks and
that's right,
and help them. And so you do not have to be born good. The only problem with being born good is if you're in a business where you need to teach or you need to be duplicatable, that's probably not going to go that great unless you really become aware of, oh, I use tone like this because that just makes sense to me. Like, you need to know, like, okay, when do I use inflect? When do I end on a high note or a low note? If you're unconsciously good at that and born at that, you probably aren't that good at teaching it.
Yeah. Same for speaking. I remember when I went through it, when you brought that, I knew I wasn't good at it, but I was somewhat natural. Like, I could get in front of people. Yeah. But I had no formula. I had no system. I had no, and thank goodness I had a mentor, and he broke it down. To your point, I remember going through it and failing and like royally, where I'm leaving going, I am never doing that again. Moments in front of a group going, oh, can I leave the room now? Get out of there? Yeah. If somebody's going through that and wanting to get better, what are ways that they can improve that? Because, today I think about with AI and all the things happening, like the human interaction and being able to build rapport and actually build enough trust to create a sale. Yeah. What are those things that they need to know about sales?
I mean, the number one thing, and this is the thing that I think people who are not good at sales, the mistake that they usually make is they focus more on the solution than the person's problem. They focus on why their widget is awesome and how it's AI driven, and it's, they focus on, I got a buddy, Ben Settle. He's a great copywriter, and he says, focus more on their crabgrass than your weed killer. Oh. So instead, no one cares. No one cares about your solution until you can expand their problem and make them understand this will help their problem. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of times people are trying to sell things and they don't even know the problem of the person or the desire of the person. They don't even know. They're trying to sell it on the awesomeness of the product or the service or whatever it is. And that's the biggest issue. So when you know someone's problem, you can, and a lot of times people will come to you with a problem and in their head, it'd be nice to solve. Sure. Well, you're not going to sell something to someone where it'd be nice to solve. And so, yes, well, how long have you wished for that to be better? How long have you struggled with that? Like, what would life be like if you didn't struggle with that? Well, is that optional, or is that something you really want to do? And so I'll give you an example. When I was, before I was a coach or trainer, I was the number one incomer of a network marketing company. And I remember I talked to this guy, which is an amazing breeding ground for training. And you'll find most gurus that I run into started in network marketing. And whether they stuck with it or not, that's, whatever. And whatever you think about it is whatever. But it's a great training ground because you learn from someone else's product. You learn sales, marketing, prospecting, follow-up. You learn all that stuff. And so I remember talking to this guy, and I talked to him about the thing, and I'm like, hey, I got a video that does a better job than I could do of explaining it. You want to watch the video? He said, yes. Okay. And so he watched the video. I followed up with him, and he said, I said, hey, what'd you like about the video? He says, I just don't think it's a fit for me. And I'm like, okay, got it. I'm like, well, what made you watch the video? Right?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, it'd be nice to make some extra money. That's how he said it. It'd be nice. And I said, okay, well, for what? Is there any reason? And so he wasn't really answering. And so I lowered his defenses, and I just said, well, maybe I can help or something. Like, what's the reason? He goes, well, I got 4 daughters. And I'm thinking, ooh, that sounds expensive. I got 1 daughter. And, but he says, they're teenagers. I've given them everything they've ever wanted their whole life. And at some point they're going to want to get married, and, they're going to, it's on the, bride's side to pay for the wedding. And I want them to have their dream wedding. And, and I can't afford that. Now just think for a second. He said, it'd be nice to make some extra money. So then I said, okay, now that he's explained it, I said, okay, is that something that's optional? Is that something that's optional, or is that something you really need to do? I've just helped him realize that it is not optional.
It's not.
No dad is going to say like, it'd be nice, but that's where it was in his head. Wow. And so I said, well, is that something that's optional, or is that something that you really need to do? And I had to stifle laughter. I'm on the phone because I know the answer.
Right.
And he's like, well, it's not optional. And I said, okay, well, if you don't do this, how will you come up with the money? If he had an answer for that, we wouldn't be talking. Yeah. But the important thing is he wasn't just ready to join the opportunity. I had to take his problem from it'd be nice to help him realize like, oh crap, man, like, yeah, time's ticking. Like, how am I going to do this?
That's right.
And I said, listen, if you're coachable, I'll show you what to do. And so, and he moved forward. And so I could have told him, well, this thing's ground floor. Well, this thing, the comp plan. I could have told him all kinds of things about the solution that would not have moved him. I had to get him to move in his head from it'd be nice to holy crap, I really do need to do something. And so that's focusing on the problem or their desire is the number one difference between the person who closes a lot, the person who doesn't.
Yes.
And what's weird and funny is it's easier. It's harder for me to remember 52 different features and benefits of something than it is to say, well, what are you going to do if you don't do this? Well, what else have you tried? Tell me about your journey. Yeah. What are the other things that didn't work for you? Like that's easier, just asking questions, and he'll give me all or he or she will give me all the ammunition I need.
Okay, so question for you. I'm listening to that. I'm thinking, that's no different in what we do in mortgage and real estate.
Absolutely. Same.
It's the same. And we just had this conversation. So maybe you can help me expand on this, kind of get in the brain array a little bit of people today, they're selling on interest rate, and they're just selling, hey, here's this product and here's this. Like it's all the features and benefits you just referenced. What would be some of the conversations you would say would be more valuable for people listening today, specifically mortgage? That's probably most of our group and our team. What should their conversations start to look like versus just trying to make the sale, trying to sell this, trying to sell
You're
that?
just a commodity. And the thing is, if you're just trying to sell the rate, then you're going to be beaten by people who aren't ethical. So they're going to go online and see, well, there's this right here. Yeah. They don't know that there's, $5,200 in fees, right? They'll give you whatever rate you want if you pay it down enough, right? Yeah. And so this is, you have to figure out, okay, why is it you want to refinance? Why is it you're wanting to sell? Maybe I can help. Whether we do a mortgage today or not, maybe I can help you. So I want to lower the defenses, and I want to find out. And if someone did come to me and say, all right, what's the best rate you could do? I'd say, okay, we can look that up, but here's my advice, right? Whether we work together or not, you want to be really careful with that, because a lot of people bury fees, and a lot of people are going to tell you whatever you want to hear. And then you get to the closing table, it's too late, and you've been duped. And so, I would just be very I would try to educate them on that.
I love that.
And so you are going to get some analytical, super people that are just going to beat you up on the rate, and that's where you get to make a decision. Mm-hmm. Do I want to work with them? Mm-hmm. And so, the point isn't let me close every sale that I ever talk to. I'm is this person going to be a big pain? Like, I want to find that out
early.
And earlier the better. Yeah. And so sometimes the no is the biggest blessing you could have.
Yes.
And I've had that. I've had that for sure. Where I've seen. I'll give you an example. I had a lady reach out to me because reputation. Proverbs talks about this. Mm-hmm. Your reputation is more important than gold and silver. And I had a lady reach out to me, and she said, Hey, I hear you're good at coaching. I want to hire you as a coach. And I knew her reputation of she was a producer. Like she, her sales team was, one of the top sales teams, period. And so I didn't know. I knew that reputation, that she was a high producer, right? So I'm very aware. Okay, And so she says, "Hey, I want to hire you. I hear you're a great coach." And I said, "Okay, well, what do you want me to coach you on? Like, what's the desired goal?" She goes, "Yeah, I don't know. I just heard you're a great coach." And I'm like, "Okay, have you hired coaches before?" She goes, "Oh yeah, and they were terrible." I'm like, okay. And so she detailed me in on how she hired this person, and she named him and named him and named him. And so she told me the last 3 terrible coaches. And I said, okay. But you're not sure exactly what you want me to coach you on. You just want me general kind of coaching. Mm-hmm. And she goes, yes. And I said, I'm not going to do it. And she's like, what do you mean? I got money. I'm like, I know you got money. I'm like, I'm not going to do it. Unless you can come back to me with exact what it is that you actually want, then I'm game if I believe I can help you get there. Yeah. And so about 6 months later, she came to one of my events. And we had, a high ticket mastermind there. It was $50,000. I think it was $50,000 for 6 months. And she bought it, and she got on stage, and she goes, I want to share a story with you guys. She has shared that story with hundreds of people because I was the first guy that didn't take her money.
Wow.
And so, you want to, when you protect your reputation, and it's not just, how much money can I get out of every single person I ever talk to, it's funny how much more money God will actually bless you with.
Yeah.
And so, she was with me for years and years and years. Probably paid me $350,000 over all those years, and helped her, and she crushed it, and we're still friends. But that would have been a big mistake if I would have taken the money. I could have got it very easy if I would have taken it without knowing why and what's the purpose. How do we know if this is going to be successful? Yeah. And that's a great question for anyone in sales. How will we know if this is a successful refinance? Yeah. How will we know? What will that look like?
That's right.
And like detail that. You don't have to know what's every single thing that's important to you about this transaction, but you absolutely need to know what's the number one most important thing.
That's right.
Is it time? Is it we need to close by this time? Right? Because for some people, that's the most important thing because they got something else they got going on. I want to find out what's the number one thing. Like if I nail that number one thing, all those little things will be just fine.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, shifting gears a little bit because you made a great choice there. You could have been coach number 4.
Absolutely, goes, same story.
This guy
and I would have been.
Out.
Yeah,
and I love that because saying no, it's just that bigger theme of when you say no to things, the bigger yeses open up.
Yeah.
And today with the internet, right? I mean, you're on there, you're posting content and all that. The game's changed a lot from what it was years ago. What have you learned with that in sales and marketing of how people can show up to become known, to become not that restaurant that's like, hey, we're the best kept secret.
Right.
How do we become known and known for what we do well and get that message out?
Yeah, I mean, you just take that idea of solving problems, and I love, there's different schools of thought, right? Of what to lead with. Is it your who? Is it your why? I like the problem. What problem do you solve?
Yeah.
And so you do have kind of entwined in that. You do have to know, okay, whose problem are you solving? But what is that problem that you're solving? So, my primary problem that I solve is I help, people stop chasing and start closing with confidence. Because what I found is the people that I can help and just completely change their numbers are the people that lack posture in their sales conversations. And so I choose to focus on that. So I teach on, here's what you're currently doing, here's what you should switch to, and so I just look to solve problems. So whatever it is that you're doing, I would focus on what are the problems of the marketplace that you can help with, and be willing to pump lots of content out there for free and resist the temptation to just AI it. Just resist it. Now, if you're going to use AI, and obviously it's everywhere, if you're going to use AI, how do you bring in personal stories? Because if you're just teaching, here's the 10 ways to create content, then you are so easily duplicated, and someone will just use a better prompt than you.
That's right.
But when I say, hey, we helped Amy Murphy out of Canada, 17 years she was in sales, had never made a profit. We helped her make $5 million in her company. Like, I can throw 1,000 personal stories.
Yeah.
AI can't do that.
That's right.
And AI is not doing that. And so how do you have, either personal meetups? How can you be more personal and defeat the AI bots that are just churning out content? Using story, creating stories, and be willing, if you don't have any stories, but you have a great product, service, or opportunity, like, be willing to go work for free. Yeah. When Russell first launched, funnel hacking or ClickFunnels, he went to a green vitamin or supplement or something like that, and he said, hey, let me redesign your websites and make them into this ClickFunnels and just see what happens. And so he went, didn't charge them, created an amazing result. Now he had that story.
That's right.
And so I think a lot of people that should be more willing to work for free temporarily because they don't have any stories should. So if you're a brand new personal trainer, like, go personal train someone, get before and after pictures, pick the right person, have a process, right, make them qualify, but go build some stories, and that's what stands out. People remember that. It stands out. It's different than AI. But I would say, just be willing to pump out good content that is helpful. And don't, I know a lot of people that they'll put out content, but they save the best for, their courses. Yeah. That's, you just can't do that now because people are so untrustworthy that if you're just pumping out the weak stuff, they're like, well, I mean, you got to take literally your best stuff and put it out there for free. And people are like, oh, crap, I wonder what his paid stuff's like.
That's right.
It must be amazing. Yeah. And, that's what you have to be. You have to be so, like, great examples of this. Hermosi is amazing, obviously. Daniel Priestley's amazing at this. Donald Miller, who's also in here.
Nashville.
I mean, they pump out so much good content that, I like to think of, am I putting out content that if someone had to pay $50 a month for, they would at least consider it? And if you look at your content on social media and you're like, no way, like, that's probably a mistake. Same with your email list. Yeah. Would someone consider paying to be on my email list? Like, make it that good. Yeah. Make your social media that good that people would be willing to pay for it.
To pay. I love that filter. It's funny, we did that for our newsletter. And I was like, would people pay a small fee to get this? Yeah. Okay. And it's grown, on LinkedIn and done some things, but I love that filter for everybody and to give away your best stuff. Yeah. Because that's been something it's helped me. Like, just give it away. Yeah. And then the people will come in. And I'd love to know this from if you could go back, knowing what you know now, done all these sales trainings, you've had all these stories and all that. What would the earlier Ray do would you change anything a few years ago, knowing what you do now? Like, has anything changed for you in this process with AI and technology and how you show up and create value in sales?
I mean, obviously, I would love to have found God sooner, but that was the process, you know. It's tough for me to answer that because that's where all my lessons came, you know. Like I had, you know, there's so many lessons of betrayal, of downfall, of being crushed, you know. I mean, you know, 2009, I mean, I'm in foreclosure, I'm dead broke, I'm $1 million in debt. And, you know, 2010, $350,000, 2011, 700,000, and just climb, you know, for, you know, a decade. And so I think, you know, it's, Zig Ziglar says, money won't buy happiness, but everyone wants to find out on their own. I had to find out on my own, you know, that I thought it would, you know, I thought that me making a whole bunch of money, that would make me happy. And, you know, but if I didn't make all that money, I still wouldn't know that, oh, that didn't work. Yeah. And so now it's just so different. And so I'm grateful because it allows me to connect with people differently. And I love the journey that God's got me on. So yeah, you know, it's hard for me to say, like, he knew, like I didn't know, he knew. Oh yeah. He knew every little turn, every little attempt at you know, feeling fulfilled that I tried that didn't work. And all of that drew me closer to him.
I love that answer too, because so many people see someone successful and the numbers you've thrown out and all the things, they look and go, man, it must be nice. Must have been easy for Ray to get through. And it's great that you share that though, because I think that's the real truth.
Yeah.
Is the peaks and the valleys and the struggles and the things, trying to figure it out, and everybody's on their own timeline. But to know you had to go through all that to get to a place to where not only could you be successful by world standards, but then also have peace.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I thought, I'm like, oh man, now that I've found Christ, like this thing, whew, I'm going to rock and roll, man. Oh no, it was quite the crushing. I remember, I think it was, I believe it was 2024. I think it was early 2024. And I mean, we're just getting our butt handed to us. You know, the hotels are, you know, $600,000 more than they used to be.
Oh yeah.
You know, the last two events we ran, 1.2 million, 1.3 million. And I got another one that like they're threatening to sue me if I don't do the thing. Lost all kinds of investments. And my oldest son wasn't talking to me, and he hadn't talked to me for like 6 months. I have a 28-year-old, and he's now in Philly. And I get into prayer, and I'm frustrated because I feel like, man, God, I'm being so obedient. You tell me to do something, I go do it. Yeah. And I'm just, why is everything sucking?
Yeah.
And I heard, and you know, when I talk about hearing and prayer, I don't hear an external voice. It's my own internal voice, but it's words I wouldn't use. Yeah. Just like the go live, you know, that was my own internal voice, but I would not have chosen that. That wasn't me dreaming up, maybe this is what I should do, or intuition or something. And so when I got into prayer in that very tough season, and I'm like, God, what's going on? I had to keep breaking you so you would keep searching and find the need to love yourself. Those are the words I got. And I wrote them down because I'm like, what does that even mean? Yeah. Like, I don't know. What does that mean? Yeah. And he revealed to me about 2 weeks later. 2 weeks, I'm just like, I don't know what this means. How do I do this? And about 2 weeks later, he revealed to me that I had a pattern that I'd never noticed. At the end of every night for my whole life, I would do a little audit of my day, and I would find one reason to beat myself up about. Either something I didn't do or something I did do. So either I ate a cupcake, how dare I, right? Or I blew a sales call, or I got mad at my daughter, or something like that. Yeah. And so I literally was a bully to myself every single night for decades. And he broke that off of me. And so it's just been such a different journey. I just, you know, encourage people that, you know, when you're at, you know, the end of that rope, man, just turn to him. He'll run to you. Yeah. I mean, I just see that he ran to me, and he surrounded me with people that would help me. it wasn't all uphill. It wasn't all, or I should say, it wasn't all easy, but it was all for my good.
Yeah.
Every single punch in the face, every teeth grinding moment, it was all to grow me, to prepare me for the territory he wants me to take.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing. And I use this analogy. I was speaking in Sarasota this past Saturday. If, I have a 6-year-old son and he's playing baseball, and well, at least his version of that, right? Yeah. Sometimes he's eating dirt, sometimes he's throwing rocks. But let's say he hasn't yet. It would be great if he did. But let's say my 6-year-old son comes to me and he says, Dad, I'm going to be the best baseball player ever. I'd be like, giddy up, right? Okay. Let's go. And I notice that he's really good at batting. I notice he's amazing at catching. He's fast, but he sucks at fielding. Am I just going to be like, well, he sucks at fielding. Let's focus on the other things.
Yeah.
Let's focus on the skills that he already has. No, that would be crazy. We're going to work that fielding until he's a pro at it. Mm-hmm. When you give God permission, that's what he does with you. Mm-hmm. He finds that you struggle with friends. Mm-hmm. So he'll place you in situations that make you very uncomfortable to get you better at friends. Mm-hmm. He finds that he sees that you're great at finance. He sees that you're great at making money, but sees that you suck at family or being a father. He'll place you in situations to help you with that. And so that's what we have to understand, is just the way that we, as with our best knowledge, we would treat our son that expressed a desire. He'll do that for you too, because he loves you that much. Yeah. And I find a lot of people, they love God. They have no idea how much he loves them. Yeah. And he just wants you to make you better. He's not to punish you. That's right. Not to, wag his finger at you. It's to help you, to grow you, to refine you, to hone you into who you're called to be.
That's right.
Which is, he knows your best life. Mm-hmm. And so if you want that best life, he knows better than you.
Amen. Best personal development journey ever.
Yes. Amen.
It'll teach you. Ray, it's been awesome.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Oh. Guys, you're going to want to listen back. I know I can't wait to listen back to this one. And there's been so many things that hopefully will encourage you wherever you are in your life, just to listen back and realize we're all going through things, right? There's different seasons in our life. But I loved how Ray broke down, not only in the business side and sales and marketing and all that, but really creating that anchor in your life about faith and what that'll teach you, what God will reveal for you in that next move, that next decision. All the things that you have that you're wrestling with right now, start to lean into him. This is one of the reasons that we started the podcast, is to bring you amazing guests, bring their stories, and really to equip you and encourage you in your own journey so you can make the right decisions and go out there and leave the world a better place. So make sure you share this with a friend, leave us a review, 5-star, all that stuff. We want to get this in more hands of people, because I believe we get these conversations and we get the right conversations in front of people, they can make better decisions and we can all help each other, right? So appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll catch you on the next episode.